Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm always looking over there, making sure the mic is on. I've got my coffee ready to go. Everyone's wondering about that histogram. My gosh, we didn't give an obvious one. Let's give out some points though. No, I've got a lot of emails so far, like wondering about the histogram. Let's take a look at the histogram. You know, I think I'm just like I emailed Terry about this morning, and the thing is a lot of things are open to interpretation. Let me go use the project data and just create the histogram. So it's like, let's go take a look at that histogram. That histogram that it is the subject of much debate. So let's go talk to that histogram here. Let's get the project 2. How is everyone doing today? People are saying theirs is bimodal. Let's talk about the weirdness of the histogram, and let's talk about what controls histogram shape. Can anyone in the chat tell me what highly controls histogram shapes? Histogram shapes would be highly, highly, highly controlled by this. What controls the histogram shapes? Histogram shapes, the way we view them, is going to be controlled by this. Here we go. We got the data up and going. I know you can't see it yet. There it is. The data's on the screen. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. The bin widths, you are correct. The bin widths, great job, Kirsten, right there. The bin widths are going to highly control the histogram shape. So histogram shapes are highly controlled by bin widths. Let's go take a look at this. Here we go. I'm going to change this. I like where it says the whole thing right here. Brian is OCD. If he's going to work with a data set, his data set's going to look the way he wants it to. There we go. That's good right there. Oh, look at those variables. There we go. That's good right there. That's good right there. Total demand, holiday, working day. I don't want the day right there. Okay, good. Let's do this. Looks like a camel is bimodal. Hey, Mary Beth, good to see you here. I think you guys are doing average temperature, right? Let's go to Analyze Distribution and go to Average Temperature, and let's take a look at it right here. So mine, it just really depends. Depends what you get right here. And let's talk about a few things you need. So talking about this histogram here first. Good to see you here, Andrew. Andrew knows the best quote of the day. So when you look at this, yeah, we can look at section 3. You got it. We'll go to that next if you like. Could we talk about the write-up for the Mosaic plot? I'm not sure I'm struggling with it. Yeah, sure. We can definitely do that, Michaela. You got it. That's what we're here to do. Thank you, everyone, showing up to the product stream right now. So when you look at this right here, there might be some slight bimodality to this. Now, I want you to notice one thing. I'm going to zoom in on this. What you'll notice is this right here. If this is skewed, it's a little skewed to the left. We don't tell you what this is, but this is the mean right here. That's actually a confidence interval for the mean, and that's the median. Everyone should know that's the median. Overall, but does this look heavily skewed or maybe a tiny bit skewed to the left? Like, if I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to say this looks like, yeah, and if you're like, that's what mine looks like, you might say there's a bit of slight bimodality in the around 60 and slight bimodality around 80. There's maybe a tiny bit of slight bimodality with a tiny bit of skew. So overall, I would say it's mostly, you could actually go and I wouldn't do this. You could fit a normal to it. So yeah, oh, you can see it's off the screen now. You could fit a normal curve to it. Like, yeah, don't worry about taking screenshots of all that. Overall, if you look at this right here, let's put the histogram options, count axis. There's the count axis. I mean, does that look really bad compared to the normal? If you look at this right here, how bad does that look compared to the normal? Like, does it look like super off from the normal? I mean, you got a little bit areas here. So it's a little bit uniform across the top. Yeah. And what I wrote an email this morning to all the Stat2 instructors and said, I'm just flat out going to tell you what I put in the email because, we communicated on how this should be graded. And I said, mostly I think there can be a lot of different ways to describe it. Like there's a bit of uniformity across the top. And what really matters here, we're talking about bin widths, is if you change the bin widths, it drastically changes the way it looks. Just look at the way the bin widths change the way it looks. To now it looks very uniform across the top. Now it looks unimodal. With these bin widths right here, maybe you could do the same sample. Oh yeah, let's do that. So everyone's wondering, what's the sample size you guys need again? Did I pulp the project? I did pulp the project instructions. Had that ready to go. Your sample size is 100 plus. It shouldn't change it too much. Let's go here to table, and let's do a smaller one because you're going to see more. I don't want to go to sort. Table, subset. Let's go here. Let's go to the smallest possible sample size. Okay, we are at the smallest possible sample size, like 107, like Garen right there. Let's go to analyze distribution. Let's look at average temp. This is where you'll see more abnormalities, and I'm getting the same. Now, one thing I want to point out right here is whenever you make these, please do the following. Go right here and go to histogram options, count access. So make sure you have this right here. Make sure you have a count access. I'd even put it on your bar charts too. Some of them say put the numbers over the bars. I guess we'll be grading for that. I don't think you need numbers over bars. You don't need it for this one. This one does not say numbers over the bars. So right here, take a look. We see that this has a count axis. Very important for when we need a count axis. And I'm actually going to do that. I don't like that 15 was right off the edge. You can move things around a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. Brian's OCD about stuff. You think you're using a different data set? You might be, Garen. Make sure everyone else is using this data set, right? Everyone else is using this data set, and this is about what you're seeing right here. So make sure you're using this data set. Is this about what people are seeing? This distribution right here is mostly, I'd say, unimodal, but someone said some uniform nature across the top. If I were to describe this right here, I'd say this is mostly unimodal, a little flat across the top, and it's very symmetric. Look at this up here. It's very symmetric. If you look at this, mine's super symmetric. So mine is very symmetric, pretty unimodal, but a little flat with uniform across the top. If someone said there's a little bit of slight bimodality, we could take that too. And so what is a big thing that you're hearing me not say here? You're not hearing me say that O word. You're not hearing me saying that S word. You're not hearing me say either of those. And let's talk about the two areas of the output we want to talk about right here. You're not hearing me saying that O word. You're not hearing me saying that S word. What words are you not hearing me say right here? The two words. The two words you're not hearing me say. You're not hearing me say anything about what's or what's. What words are you not hearing me talk about right here? What words are you not hearing me talk about? Brian did not talk about some O or S. Good to see you, Roderick. You're not hearing me talk about O or S. What is O or S? You did not hear me when I talked about this over here. You were not hearing me talk about some O or S words, which would change what we would use for center and spread. When I was talking about this here in the red, I was not talking about outliers, and I was not talking about skew. So I was not talking about outliers, and I was not talking about skew. So if there was outliers and there was skew, we would use the what and the what to describe the center and the spread. If we have outliers and skew, then we use outliers. If we have outliers and skew, then the proper measure of the center would be the what. So if I remember you might be right. I'm just like, I ask like 10 questions. Sometimes I'm like, which question did I ask? So if it is skewed and if it has outliers, then the proper measure of center and spread, if it has skew and if it has outliers, is going to be the median and the IQR. If it has skew and if it has outliers. But we are saying it's mostly unimodal / uniform, a little uniformity across the top. It's pretty symmetric. So overall, we don't see much skew and we don't see much outliers. I'd almost highlight that. Like I don't see a large amount of skew and I don't see any extreme outliers, which would drastically impact it. So always remember that your outputs are kind of joined together, that the median and IQR are right here, where this is the center and this is the spread of it. So that's the spread. And then over here, you have the center right here and you have the spread right here. So median and standard deviation are together right there in the same output, and the median and the IQR are right there. I'm trying to think how it says. Does it say to like interpret them or just give them? Interpret your graphic, make sure to describe, and the appropriate, yeah. So if you can say the center is best described by the mean, which is the average, and the spread is best described by the standard deviation, which is the variation around the mean. The last one you did had skew right. So you, this one right here. If anything, it's actually a tiny bit skewed to the left. And I'll show you how I know that. The reason I know it's, if anything, if it's a tiny bit skewed to the left, why, and you can see it here in the output, why, if anything, is this a little bit, and I'm not saying it is really skewed, but why, if anything, is this maybe a little bit skewed to the left? If anything, why is it a little bit skewed to the left? Yeah, Mallory, you got it. Why, if anything, is it a little... And everyone wants 2B next. We can do 2B. We can take some votes. We'll do 2B, and then we'll take votes on the next thing to do. Why is it maybe a little... Like, I'm just saying a little bit. Just a little bit. There's maybe this is a little bit more pulled out right here. Like you have to look at the length of these tails, but right here you'll notice that the mean is lower than the median. Exactly, and the mean is the diamond. So if you don't know that, you can look at the mean, and the mean follows the skew usually. So the mean, I've drawn on this out, but way too much, is a little bit lower than the median. So the mean is a little bit lower than the median. So the mean is a little bit lower than the median, and there is a way to check skewness. If you want to check skewness, there's actually a skewness metric. I'll show where that's at. You can go right here to the more options and go to custom summary statistics, and you can go to skewness, and a skewness of 0 is symmetric. And this is actually, ooh, who said it was right skew? Even though the mean is lower than the median, but this is mostly symmetric. Don't worry about what the values are. If it's close to 0, it's mostly symmetric. That is very, very symmetric. I might even say that right there about perfect symmetry has a skewness of 0. So this is pretty symmetric. Even though the mean's lower than the median, it's a bit of a weird one. There's not really any strong. So would we use the mean or median on this? Which one would we use? So great question from Madison right there. Mean or median? And Clarissa asks, under each chart in this section, are we talking about the graphic or are we talking about them? Yeah, you should talk about really to like the bike company and stuff right there. If I email you my screenshot real quick, could you take a look and see if mine's bimodal? Well, so you can say it has slight bimodality, and everyone's right, the mean, because it doesn't have high skew, no real outliers. It's mostly symmetric. You don't need to include the skewness metric, but that does confirm it's mostly symmetric right here, which is what we were going for. And we don't see any outliers there. So probably, I doubt, and I could take a look here after this, Garen, if you want. So I'll take a look after all this. But you might have slight bimodality. And think about, use your modifier words to say slight bimodality. There's slight uniformity at the top. It's got maybe a little bit of skew to the left, a little bit of skew to the right. Either one of those would be acceptable by looking at the mean being lower than the median, or the actual statistical measure, which we've never shown you that, or at least you might be like, I've never known that you can do that. But that is actually how to calculate numerically the skew, which it's basically 0. It's basically symmetric. So since it's basically symmetric with no outliers, I probably wouldn't go for multimodal. Great question right there, Jesse. Reason being, these are not really strong peaks. What you kind of have going on right here is maybe the distribution looks somewhat like this right here. So with this right here, there's kind of like a flatness across the top. Like overall, I would say, it's kind of got some uniformity across the top. Like there's some maybe slight modal areas, you might say. Like always kind of like think about telling this as a story to someone where they have to draw it. And you could say, it maybe has a little bit of, you could say multimodality, but it's more flat across, like the peaks are not as extreme between the points. Where the graders should give you points if you have given a good effort to try and describe it. Does that make sense? Imagine someone's not seeing this and you have to like have them paint it for you. And the more you do, the better you describe it. Don't worry too much. I'm definitely telling my graders, as long as someone, like my literal grading for this, like here's Brian telling how he's going to tell his graders to grade it. If students give a good effort in explaining this, and as long as they don't say something like this is extremely skewed or it has outliers, like there's things you can say that are directly wrong. This is not very skewed. This does not have outliers. It's mostly symmetric. Whether we call it somewhat uniform across the top or slight bimodality, or I'd hesitate on multimodal because maybe it's just the bin widths are tricking you. The most important thing is going to be at the end, the what? Because look at that. Now it looks super. Now it looks just more unimodal when we change the bin widths. So you could do that too. So what's the most important thing here at the end of this? Because now I've changed it. Just change your bin widths a little bit. That's a trick right there. Change your bin widths and it changes the way it looks. Just don't do something crazy. Don't make like no bins or one bin. So now with that, I would describe that as very what? I'd say this is a very flat unimodal distribution. Show percentages on the count bars. Nothing happens. That's night mode. I'll put that in the chat, William. I'll show you how to fix that. That's night mode. Thank you, everybody. And let's do, I think people wanted 2B next, right? Let's do 2B. Let me give you the night mode video. If you're using, I think, the older version of Jump, there's the night mode fix right there to fix that. If the mean and median are a point apart, would you say it is skewed or symmetric? Let look mostly at the shape of it right here. So town's right there. Good question. Look at the shape of it. Always just don't worry about so much about the distance, because like the difference, you see mine are a point apart. I'm still using the mean right here. Why am I still using the mean even though they're 1 degree apart? Because this is temperature in Fahrenheit. Why would I, and thank you everyone for all the questions. Let's do 2B next. And everyone, thank you so much. All the great questions right here. Why would I still use mean right here? Well, we got 2B next. We'll take a vote. Because we will decide the shape, we will decide the center and spread based on how we describe this. So when I describe this as mostly symmetric, it's kind of uniform, but I mean, it's kind of unimodal, but it has a little uniformity on the top, like it's a little flat on top. Then due to it not really having any extreme outliers or skew, great thing to say right there, I have decided to use the mean and the standard deviation. Great, thank you, Sakya. I really appreciate that. Does that make sense to everybody right there? Like due to it not having any extreme, like make sure to say the first parts. Now there are lines on it. I can look at one of my. Oh yeah, if you click on it, you'll select the data, hold Control or Command, and you can deselect it. If you click on it, hold Control or Command, and you can deselect it. So if you're on a Mac, hold Command, click on it again, you'll deselect it. If you're on a PC, hold Control, and you can deselect it again, or click in a white space. Click in a white space where there's no data. That's supposed to work. It used to work. Oh, doesn't work on this one then. Used to work. Guess it works on Graph Builder. Let's talk about 2B. Does that make sense, Kinga? Did you get it so it undid the lines if you hold Control or Command? The mean temperature for this data set is, yep, looking pretty good there. Let's take a look at 2B. Next question. Yeah, let's take a look at 2B. 2B says create a, wait, we just did 2B, right? Let's take a vote. What do people want to do? If we want to change, definitely, Alistar. Great answer, great question, Alistar. That is more than good enough. Which one do people want to do next? Speak now if we get like 2 or 3 votes for something. Which one do people want to do next? You can change the color to any color you want. You go purple. Woo! Which one do people want to do next? Your call. We just did 2B. People were asking about 2B, and I was like, wait, this is 2B. Or not? Not? Which one do people want to do now? I might not do the exact problem. People were asking about mosaics earlier, so whichever one you have a question on. I just wanted to kind of address this one directly because I got a lot of emails on it. Section 3, let's talk about Section 3 right here. Okay, let's go to Section 3. Section 3, create a bar chart of a variable, high casual demand, include a screenshot. Your bar chart must include a horizontal layout and include the values, either count or percentage above the bars. What should we include in the executive summary? Oh, we do that next. That's a great question right there, Abigail. And I see Carly has a question too. Let's do Section 3, and then we'll jump to some new stuff here. We put a cut in the video, so I can go back later tonight. Might even try to do this between this. Just fix the hair between the cut. There we go. Let's do this. Here we go. Back to the video. Okay, so we got here 3B. First thing we're doing is making a bar chart. Okay, so I'm not going to use your exact data set for this one. I'm not going to use your exact data set. I'm using a different data set. So when you make a bar chart, great job, Kinga. When you make a bar chart, you're going to go to Analyze Distribution. Analyze Distribution. And with Analyze Distribution, you're picking a categorical variable. So we could pick something like whether or not someone's born in Tennessee. Now, please follow your instructions. I just don't want to do the exact project, obviously, today, because I kind of wanted to address that other one because I got a lot of emails on it. But now I'm not doing your exact project. So like warning, Brian is not doing your exact project. So here we are. We're just going to click the red arrow right here and go to stack. That's the quickest way to get into horizontal layout. Everything is now horizontal. I always like changing this. I'm blind, so I like everything to be big. That's not required, but I want to get it the way I want it to look. Now we're going to click the red arrow. Red arrow is where your options are at. So anytime, yep, yours is high casual demand, above 1,000 a day. Great job right there, Elizabeth. And we're going to click the red arrow. Let me bring this down here so I can zoom in on it. So we're going to click the red arrow, and we're going to go to histogram options. Of course, it's right off the edge of the screen. We're going to go to histogram options and count axis. If you notice, we've also got the show counts on the bars. And sorry, that is not in the video. They decided to add that this semester, but there's the show the counts on the bars right here. And now, or you could show percentages. I always hate it when it just barely doesn't show that one. I guess it doesn't need to. This is about the project. I was wondering if you could go over the questions on chapter 15 that's due tomorrow. I think we did a few of them, and we can definitely do that tomorrow, or if you ask about a certain one, I might be able to find a video on it for you. And I've got videos from past semesters. So if you're like, hey, Brian, can you show me a video on this one? I'll find you one. So Sydney, definitely let me know. One is maybe people turn the project in as early. So I'm like, sorry, and no, Sydney, great question. We'll find you. You'll email me and I'll find you a video on it. If you're stuck on a certain problem, you're like, I have no idea how to solve this one, Brian. I will find you a video to help out with that. Your bar chart must be displayed in horizontal layout and include the values. So let's check out right here. Do we have it? Horizontal layout. That means it's like this. It must have the values above the bar. And I don't know if it says count access. I like count accesses. I guess it doesn't say the count access, but I like count accesses. Can you talk about how to relate the bike company and our write-up to police? Yeah, let's do that next year, Maribeth. Yep. As stated above in section 1, you can use the randomization, 10% condition, nearly normal, not nearly normal, excuse me. Clearly state the third condition to construct a confidence interval for the population proportion. Now, when we do our three conditions right here, but can you go over three? Yep. So when we do the three conditions right here, the three conditions, which is what we're on right now, the three conditions right here, when we do the three conditions, we must first know what kind of data we're dealing with. So with the three conditions, here are the three conditions right here. These are the three conditions. So awesome. Yep. So Garen, this right here, when we have data that's categorical, we will use success failure. So this is for proportions. These are your conditions right here. Random. So we randomly collected the data, which we did because we took a random sample and jump. 10%, these are less than 10% of all UT students or whatever we're taking, or days that we have for bikes. This is less than 10% of all the days. And then the success failure says we need at least 10 successes and at least 10 failures. So the way to look at that here is to look at this. At least 10 successes and at least 10 failures is met right here with what I'm doing. There's at least 10 here and at least 10. This number right here, 761 and 1,144 are at least 10 successes and at least 10 failures. So for the success failure condition right here, these are the numbers I would quote. Does that make sense to everybody? Like there's at least 10 successes on the no and the yes. And that's what it means for success failure. Like if it's no's and yeses, it's easy to think like, oh, the no is a failure, the yes is a success, but it just means one of each or 10 of each group. So you need at least 10 successes and at least 10 failures. This is for what kind of data? Someone say it in the chat. What kind of data is Brian working with right now, which in this problem we're working with, which is a very important thing to know when it comes to the final. What kind of data are we working with right here? What kind of data are we working with? Because that's categorical. Nice job, Kirsten, right there. Yep. We're dealing with categorical data. And so we have other ones, a random sample. Yep, random sample. And we're dealing with the categorical variable right here. So I guess I should have said variable. Yep. So you are correct. The data is a random sample. And yep, so I should have said what kind of variable? Data variable. When we take a screenshot for this part, do we take a screenshot of the graph? Also the frequencies? I would do that. I think it says include the values of the bars, include screenshot. I would do that. I'm trying to think. Yep, I would do that. I don't think it's required, but I would do that. Section 2C says we only need a short write-up of compare the median, so we don't have to talk about anything else. Correct, Maggie, right there, correct. Section 2C really only says compare the medians. Yep. I would take the difference between them too. So Maggie, on that, I would compare the medians and take the difference. Like I would say the median for this group was this, while the median for this group was this. The difference between them was found to be this. Like I would subtract the medians. Like we're going to compare them. I just took off the window. I have no idea what that means. Regardless, continue to analyze below. Use jump to calculate a 99% confidence interval, interpret your interval in context of the problem. Okay, let's get jump to make the interval. So to make an interval right here, how do we make an interval? We go right here to this button. Let's zoom in on it. So we go right here to this button right here. How do you calculate confidence intervals? You got it. Let's take a look. We're going to go right here to this button and we can calculate the confidence interval right here. Does that make sense, Sarah? To calculate the confidence interval, we go to the second red arrow. We go to confidence interval. And if it gives a number that's not on here, we go to other and it pops up this window to which we enter in the number it wants us to enter in. And we have this right here. and now it'll calculate the confidence interval for us. If I've already screenshotted all this over here, I'm not going to re-screenshot it. I'm just going to take this portion right here. And so we take this portion right here, and there it is. I'm mad that I got that little bit of blue. You could fix it in Word, actually. I'll show you. So if I don't want that little edge, because Brian is so OCD, what you can do is when you get to Microsoft Word, if there's part of your picture you don't want, you can always go here to the crop button, and you can just take off that little bit right there and make it perfect. We don't require perfection, but I do, from myself. So there we are. Let's talk about how to interpret this interval. Oh, you're welcome, Sarah, anytime. So when we interpret intervals, we always interpret our intervals the following way. We write, I am blank % confident that the true blank is contained in the interval blank to blank. And I didn't do my classic thing. Oops, that's not good. Okay. Need some help here, everyone. I see when we do written tests. So Brian is talking about, are people born in Tennessee? So how would we interpret this? I'm 99% confident the true portion of days where there was high cash demand. Yeah. Excellent work, Madison. I guess that's all right. Hey, Madison, wait. I'm going to ask one favor from you, Madison. That's excellent work. And to anyone who saw that, if you could retract that message, Madison. So don't worry, Madison. That's like, hey, is this right? Yes, that's excellent. That's excellent right there. So you get that benefit right here. But if you click your message, you can like, whoop. And look at, if you see Madison's message, which you see on the screen, you also heard me say, so people can see it right there. But great job, Madison. Excellent work. Let's do everyone 50 points. Madison, do not worry. This is a project help stream, and I will accept that. That is some excellent, yeah. Oops. You guys are awesome. Sorry, I'm about to choke on my coffee. That oops right there. Oops. I'm actually like crying. Okay, I'm done. That was awesome. Thank you. That makes my morning. Okay. Yeah, we need some section 4. Okay. I don't know. That's really funny. But if you look at the format, it's retracted. Gosh darn. I am blank % confident that the true blank. The hardest part is usually the second blank for people, is where we have to say, like, what are we talking about? And make sure. Let's go right here. We only put a few things in here. True proportion of blank. True mean of blank. True difference between the means of blank. So this is the only things we do right here. Let me vanish and zoom in a little bit more so everyone can see. I am blank % confident that the true proportion of blank. So this is where you would continue on right here. But this is some good help for when you're writing it, or especially for the test. This portion right in here just depends on what we're doing, and just really, really depends. That's the hardest part for people usually with these intervals. This is when we're trying to figure out p, we're using p hat. This is when we're trying to figure out mu, we're using y bar. This is when we're trying to figure out the difference between two means, which we haven't done yet. We'll be doing next week, which is mu1 minus mu2. Here's the parameter we're trying to estimate. And here is our sample statistic we're using to estimate the parameter, which gets more to the theory. So you can see right there, the sample is giving us the estimate, and the sample creates the interval. So when we're trying to estimate the true proportion, we use the sample proportion. When we're trying to estimate the true mean, we use the sample mean. When we're trying to estimate the true difference between two means, which is mu1 minus mu2, we use the difference between two sample means. So I am blank % confident that the true proportion is the one we are using here. And hopefully that makes sense. And then your numbers right here are going to be the lower and the upper. So let's just highlight that so everyone can see if they come back to the video. The lower and the upper to whatever group you're using is going to be that. And so there's the lower. Oh, come on. Don't color change today, pen. Don't do that to us. There's the lower. There's the upper. And then the confidence level is going to be this right here. But just make sure to times that by 90. Does this make sense to everybody? We won't have points taken off for including the graph frequencies and confidence rolls in one screenshot. I've taken separate. I do separate screenshots. I would try to, like, if you're talking about the confidence roll, I would just talk about it here. You shouldn't. If you feel the graders are too mean, just talk to me. I'll probably give points back. Is that the only sense we need when interpreting the interval? That is correct. This is the interpretation of the interval. And hopefully the color coding here kind of makes some sense. Like this is more detail, but this is all the interpretations for the whole semester. This is like we're using the sample to talk about the truth, and this is an interval to estimate the true proportion. This one is a true proportion interval. These are the numbers right here that go here. This is the percentage that goes here, and then whatever the context is that we're talking about, which this context is the proportion of people who are born in Tennessee. If I'm doing the context of this one, I'm probably talking about the true proportion of people who are born in Tennessee. In this one, yes, is the desired response. In the other one, you're talking about high casual demand. Is that, hopefully this makes sense. The section 4, yeah, let's do, we just did section 3, right? So I think section 4 is a good one to do next. So we just did section 3. So let's do section 4 next. We just did section 3. Okay, let me put a cut in the video so people can know where everyone having a good morning? Who's got their coffee this morning? What time do I teach today? I don't teach like 2:40, I don't think. How's everyone's day going? Get some coffee. So about section 4. Let's do this. Here we go. I put cuts in the video so I can come back later. Oh, it makes, when I decided to start doing cuts in the video for office hours, made it so I didn't have to spend like, I was spending like an hour and a half like putting cuts in videos at night trying to find like each section, and now I just like, yeah, fantastic, Andrew. So good to hear. So Andrew should show everyone his points. Andrew's in a league all of his own. Carried a histogram and include the screenshot. Your histogram must be displayed in horizontal format and have a count axis. Interpret your graphic. Make sure you describe the shape and appropriate center and spread. So it's total demand and spread the distribution, common and unusual futures. If you see any, okay. So total demand right there. If we turn the project 2 in today and we get like how does that grade calculate? Oh, you get a 92. You get 85 plus that, you get a 92. Andrew, you got ridiculous points. 471. Is it with me? Wait, am I teaching 471? Let's go right here. I'm teaching some new classes next semester. If you're taking the class, then they have to reset your points. I reset everyone's points every semester. So that way I can, like that way your points are like your, whoa. Wow. Okay. I mean, sure. Can anyone describe this for me? Please notice I'm adding account access to this. No, Andrew. I miss you, Andrew. I miss you as a student. Andrew was in the first Stat Tool on YouTube session ever. Andrew is the original Stat Tool 1 online class. I would say it's very, Mandy, I'd say this is very, very symmetric, very unimodal. I mean, this is about as normal can look. This is, should our subset be less than 10% of the full sample? I believe we're saying that it's less than 10% of the population. So good question right there, Grace. Did we mention anything about population size right here real quick? Do we have you check the 10% condition? Outside this project, you would use differential, assume that your sample does not violate the 10% condition. Yeah. So OG stat 201. So you're assuming that it's, it says assume it's met. Yep. That's what I thought. I was pretty sure we just say like, don't worry about it so much. 10% condition is a very interesting one. We talked about that in our meeting, how it's like one of the lesser concerns, especially Dr. Pano, who's done a lot of consulting, is like, in consulting, we don't really focus on it that much. So does it matter how much our subset is? Well, so what this is, just to talk briefly about the data set right here. This data set right here is a data set of bike sharing, from bike sharing. So here, I'll bring it up over here. I'll show you the info on it. It came from Kaggle, I believe. Andrew probably knows about Kaggle, which is a data competition website. And so if we go over here to, there it is. And the data from, here it is. So this is the information on it. Adapted from the bike sharing data set from UCI data repository. This concerns the demand for bike rentals in the DC area. So you have, bike demand over different days. They did a paper on it, looks like in 2013. So this is the full information on it. And so these are random days taken from it. So if we have a subset of like 100 random days, that's less than 10%, I'd say, of all days. Like, because days are kind of like an infinite sample. Does that make sense, Grace? Like, you could, you can't oversample days. Like, days is an infinite population. And that's a really complex, like, we're getting into some complexities of like theoretical statistics. So the good news is don't worry about the 10% condition. Hence why we kind of said it in this project. We didn't really want you to think it over. So because it's not really a concern for this one, because there's like infinite days we can sample from, like theoretically, as we move forward into the future. So we wouldn't violate the 10% condition, which is a real condition. Any sample size is technically good. It's when you have an infinite population, like since days are something that can continue on, you can't oversample days. So to the 10%, that's why the project pretty much says, like, we didn't really want students to have to worry about it for this one. So we were just like, don't worry about it. So when you look at this right here, what is the appropriate measure for center and spread for this one? What is the appropriate measure of center and spread for this distribution? This one's as textbook can get, especially the way mine came out. Like I lucked out on how textbook can get on this one. There's only 2 appropriate measures of center and spread. There's only 2 appropriate measures of center and spread. That's going to be a spread right there. That's a center. Can a graph be unimodal and skewed? Unimodal and skewed would look like that. There's unimodal and skewed. Yep, Michaela, you are correct. The mean and standard deviation is what we would use because this does not have outliers. It does not have any real skew to it. This is mostly symmetric. I mean, I think it's very symmetric. Yeah, sure. Well, no, we just, Maribeth, check it out. We just did that a moment ago. Check out, we were talking about just a moment ago. Does that make sense, Maribeth? If you can't find it, let me know. But we were talking about that just a moment ago. We were doing section 3, I think it was, just a moment ago. But check that out. If you don't see it, let me know. The mean and the standard deviation. Does that make sense? The mean and the standard deviation. And look at how they're next to each other in the output right here. The mean and the standard deviation. Because this is unimodal and it's mostly symmetric. It does not have any extreme outliers and does not have any extreme skew. So, I mean, that is, when you're talking about like, you're welcome, Maribeth. Thank you so much. I mean, this one right here, like it is looking like a good distribution. Let's look at the skewness of it real quick, which I like to do as a double check. Yeah, if anything, it has a tiny bit of left skew, but that's not really much of anything. If this is close to 0, don't worry, you don't need to add this. That just is telling you how much skew it has. So you can actually get a numeric measure of skew. It's just saying like when it's close to 0, it's not that skewed. Yeah, so that's looking good right there. I'm going to switch what question type I'm doing because I think we're going to build some confidence intervals for this. So once again, we're just making quantitative distributions. So I'm just redoing it here. But if you were to get something like this, what would be the appropriate measure of center and spread now? So this should be obvious now. What is the appropriate measure of center and spread? And we don't look at how close the numbers are to each other. We don't look at how close numbers are to figure out which one to use because these numbers are not that far away. But what would be the appropriate measure of center and spread here? Which So there's some major issues. Sorry if it has a lot more bars. That's right. Median and IQ are exactly, Michaela, because this is heavily skewed with outliers. Notice how I'm going to say this is unimodal, heavily right skewed with outliers. So because of that, the appropriate measure is going to be the median, and the median for the center, which is the 50th percentile, and the IQR, which is going to be 1 right here. I think everyone's else's are going to be pretty normal, so you're not going to use median and IQR. So this is what I would use right here. We'll make this a little bit smaller. And make sure to have your count axis. Do not forget count axis. Great job. Thank you, Michaela. All those answers. Awesome work. Let's look at the next part of the question. As above, randomization, the third condition right here. So for our third condition, which do I still have that in my copy paste? I do not, but let's go grab it here real quick. I think there's another question. Wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? The third condition is going to be the what? The third condition, when we're dealing with quantitative distributions, is the what? When we are dealing with quantitative distributions, the third condition is the what? Big views. Oh, we do executive summary here in moment 2, Grace. You got it. Not success failure, though. How do we interpret this one pertaining that we are the bike company with total demand? Yeah, Madison. So here we'll go into that. And great question. And so this won't be success failure, though. This will not be success failure, because success failure is for what kind of data? Success failure nearly normal, and we can check. So nearly normal is the condition, and we can check nearly normal with large enough n. So I always kind of combine them. So I always say like nearly normal, large enough n, because we can do the condition nearly normal, and we can check it by way of large enough n, because this is quantitative. How do we know it's quantitative? We have made histograms here. There's a histogram here, and the histogram is quantitative because it's how much was the total demand. So what they're looking at right here is, how much demand was there for bikes on that day? Does that make sense? Like, how many bikes were used on that day? Does that make sense, Madison, for the interpretation? Like, for the company, they want to know, like, what is the total demand for bikes on that day? Like, how many bikes were rented? So the total demand would be how many bikes were rented on that day. And obviously, they want more demand for bikes. So the demand for bikes is the amount of rentals there were. Like, how much were the bikes used? So more demand equals better. If there's more demand, they've found it right there. So with this, let's see right here. Use jump to create an interval, interpret your confidence interval. So let's go ahead and create an interval for this. To create an interval, we just go here to, let's put it in the center of the screen. Then let's talk executive summary next, because I do want to address that. To make confidence intervals, you go right here. If it gives you a number that's not on your list, go to the second red arrow and go to other. And you go right here and you put in whatever number it gives you. Sure, let's put in that number. And then you click OK, and you go back, and here's the screenshot you need. Now, if you notice, this is going to look exactly the same as what we had before. It's just a different kind of interval. Let's go back to our word sheet, and we can kind of move things around, I think. Oh my gosh, it almost worked perfectly. So we are trying to interpret the mean right here. Look at that. And I'm doing the age of UT students. So here's our interpretation sheet. I am 90.3% confident that the true mean age of UT students is contained in the interval 19.687. I'm just going to copy these numbers directly, but hopefully this color coding right here helps you out. But if it is quantitative, it'll be the mean. If it's proportions, so you see how it's mean, and we'll be talking about the true mean, and this is the context. I think this right here hopefully will make sense of all of it. It's kind of filled in the blank. These are the things I like. If you take a screenshot of this right now, hopefully this will help you. But knowing that these are our three interpretations right here, and then you just need to grab the confidence. So 90.3, you need to grab the lower and the upper right here. But these are the parts right here that we need to interpret. This is for categorical data, which we did earlier for question 3. This is for quantitative data, and this is for the difference between two means, which is not on this project, but we will be doing assignments doing the difference between two means. mu1 minus mu2 is what we're trying to estimate, which is the parameter. So really good information right here. And let's jump back in and start talking about that executive summary. Okay, so with the executive summary, this is how I ask my graders to grade it. And let's start talking about it here. Let's go to the main page. Let's go talk about it. Okay. Executive. The other one was proportion. Yep. Great job, Elizabeth. Executive summary. When it comes to executive summary, my graders are told the following. So you need to summarize the business problem. You need to set the stage. Think about this. What if you are hired to do marketing for a business in Knoxville. Let's say it's is Campus Cuts by Monica still around? Great hairstylist, Monica. Hopefully, someone knows her, or at least her business in the chat. With current world situation, everything's been a little bit crazy, but best place to get a haircut on campus, I would say, Campus Cuts by Monica. Yes, tell her Stat One's always shouting her out right there. She's awesome. Best place. I'm so happy when she got her own business, but she's super awesome. She's always like, you can book a haircut from my other styles. I'm like, Monica, you're the best, though. Monica's the best. Anyways, so go get haircut from Monica. Awesome right there. So let's say she hires us to do some like data analysis for her. We'd set the stage. We'd say like Campus Cuts by Monica is currently looking into their business, seeing the relationship to kind of let's say like, I'm trying to think of the correct word, like amount of customers compared to like time of day and amount of hairstylists, because you would have like, which stylist do you have working, how many people come in during that day. So you could look at each day and collect data on it and say like, how many stylists do I have working that day? Which stylists are working that day? Was it a holiday? Is it during COVID? So you could think these things are going to drastically change the business, and we've got a lot of variables. We're setting the stage with the opening right here. Like, what is this company analyzing? What's the point of this? Campus Cuts by Monica is trying to increase their business. Does that make sense to everybody? The first thing we do is we set the stage. Maybe you need like 2 sentences there. Does that make sense to everybody? Like, you set the stage. You say like, hey, here's what we got going on. Here's what we're going to be looking into. Here's what this company is having us analyze. Set the stage for the person reading the report so they know what is going on here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to summarize results. So this is where you try to, quick question, do we have to eliminate identified roles? Don't think you won't be doing that because Mosaic plots don't use those. I can check that out, Wesley, here in a moment. Great question. You'll just use the 2 variables that it asks for. And we can look at that. We haven't done the Mosaic plot yet, so let's do that next, Wesley. You got it. So summarize the results. For decision trees, we do that. Summarize the results. Try to take each section and turn it into 1 sentence. So try to take each section. Use numeric backing. I got to make sure to say these things that I know I'm going to ask my various takeoff points for. So you don't want to just like copy paste. Like if you're doing that, you're just putting the whole report in the executive summary. So you want to take your each part and think about how can I condense this down? Does that make sense? Like the whole part of the report is to go into big details. And if something's not a big detail, like, maybe the shape of the distribution was not so important, but you could say an average demand was found to be this with a spread of this. Like we probably don't need to tell someone the justification for the center and spread we used, but we could say regarding demand, we found that the typical demand was found of this, where the typical temperature was this. Think about how you can like condense it down. I'm kind of confused on what exactly on which part, Haley? I'll let you expand right there. So you're trying to take, when you summarize your results, you're going to take everything that you write about. You're going to take all of your things in here and condense it. Oh, so this business is trying to look at the bike demand and trying to increase bike demand and see, when bike demand is at its highest. They're looking at bike demand, which seems to be the main concern for them. Like they're trying to understand what is going on with the bike demand, what is impacting it, whether it be weather or whether it be, in other things like, so no more than, I would try to, I would say a good executive summary is probably going to look about like this length right here. I'd say that's probably I think that's about how much you need right there. I'm not saying it should look like if you were to look at an overview of your paper, it's not going to have these breaks either. But does everyone understand kind of what I'm saying? Like if I were to like zoom out on your paper like this, your executive summary might take up about this much room. Does that make sense? Like I have a page, if you zoom out on it and it's to this, it's not going to have these breaks though. But I mean, you could do 2 paragraphs or so, but it should look about like this. So you're in that neighborhood. I wouldn't do 3 to 4 sentences. 3 or 4 sentences is not gonna, I mean, you could do like 3 or 4 really powerful sentences, but we're not to the last part even yet. So I always go a little bit more, because some people will write 3 to 4 sentences, be like, if I do 3 to 4 sentences, I'm good. But then one of their sentences is just kind of like a fluff sentence that doesn't really do anything. So I'm always like a little more never hurts here. Like, it doesn't hurt to do a little bit more. Does that make sense, Mandy? I would go more towards the realm of six sentences at least. I know I say at least right there, but you're not just trying to write a bunch of stuff to write a bunch of stuff, but just think about how you can take and condense things down and give a like good summary of everything. And then the last thing, which is super important, which a lot of people make this mistake. This is the last one where people make the mistake, where they don't include this. Include direct suggestions to the business related to the findings in the report. So we need direct suggestions right here. So basically a summary of all your analysis in the report. And you'll always do the executive summary after doing your report. So, like, if you think about it, you could do one really strong sentence right here. Like, make sure you go through and talk about exactly. Here's a bad sentence for this. Let's talk about what a bad sentence would be. A bad sentence would be, I am analyzing data for bike demand. That's like, wait, what company, what's going on right here? Like, what's the goal? Like, try to be, you can do a really strong sentence up there and be fine with that. But you could always do a second one to make sure you kind of hit the key points. Be like, I'm just gonna do a little extra. I think, and these are like the minimum, I'd go 4 here to try to like have 4 strong like key summaries and use numeric backing. I can't state that enough. And then you need at least like 1 strong sentence right here. Here's a bad sentence to give. I think we should raise bike demand. How? How are we going to do that? So, Elizabeth, which one are you wondering about? What's with the problem? Which problem is it? So the bike company is trying to increase their demand by looking at the variables right here. That's kind of the business problem. They're looking at bike demand and seeing what impacts it across these different metrics we looked at in the project. Who thinks they follow right here and can write a good, strong... And I've seen a lot of really good executive summaries. And I've seen some where I'm like, ugh. So the business problem is just like, what is the business working on right now? What are they encountering? So... Sure, you could call it Knox Bike Sharing. You could make up a name for the company if you want, which is perfectly fine. I'm always happy to have some innovation. Yep, resubmit. They should grade the latest one, Maggie. Yep, and that's why I was doing this today for everyone who's turned it in early. If you want to do some just like fixing up, if there's small things, it usually won't impact you too much. But I think, and my fear is that people won't do things like use numeric backing right here. This is where I see usually a lot of the points lost in the executive summary. So when it comes to future research, someone put in the chat, what is this called? What is this section called? No, don't worry. And some people I've emailed with, I want you to see what that section's called right there. Because don't worry, I've seen a lot of it. And a lot of times what happens is, don't worry, this is very common, is that the majority of the future research is just going back through results. And then there's like a sentence at the end right here that goes into future research saying, for future research, let's do this. While you can, there's a lag for me. Hopefully not for everybody. Hopefully not. Buffer. Oh, we just hit the buffer today. I ordered new Ethernet cords, everyone. Big buffer. It's the first one today. 1 hour in on 1 buffer. JK. Thank you, Grace. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, internet. Suddenlink, you're horrible. I ordered new Cat 8 Ethernet cords, which are the category I found out researching it. But have you gone over how to do a heading? Is there a specific way to edit? So everyone's been asking about that, and I don't know how that rumor got started, that there needs to be page numbers and headings, but there's no specific heading. Let me like put this in the video. Ready? So I'll finish this right here, and then Jacob, I'll address that directly. For the future research, you don't want it to look like this. Here's how you want future research to look. This is how it should look. So future research should look something like this. Oh, it's another teacher that wants... Is it if someone wants to tell me which one it is? We've never the project guideline doesn't say that, so maybe someone said put page numbers and headings. The instructions don't say that, so yeah, all of a sudden I got a lot of emails saying, hey, do you want this page number and headings? It's all right, you can say who it is, and then that'll help me, because then I'll just be like, we're not grading on that, right? Because it's not in the project instructions. We've never graded like that. I know this live stream. Could you times? Yeah, I think we could, Adriana. Yeah, which one are you wondering about? The student. I do have a video on that right now. Let me go get you. I'll give you the video in the chat, Adriana, if that works. Let me get you the video for it. Here we go. All this by hand. Oh, wait, that's not the right. I have a video on it. Where is it? Where? I hate the way you can search through this. Wait, here it is. Got it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Am I wearing the same shirt? What? April 8th. Here is the problem right here. There's the problem. And there we go. I so rarely wear this shirt. I'm wearing the same shirt. How embarrassing. I'm embarrassed, everyone. I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, that makes me smile. For section 3, let's see right here. You're welcome. And then it's Alan. Okay, yeah. I guess we're not grading by that as far as I know. No, you're welcome. Yeah. I've got a lot of videos, so I understand. Here we'll go back. Oh, we're gonna talk about something here for Jacob. So just like announcement. Let me see if anyone said via email yet. No one's communicated, because I sent an email to the instructors this morning. No one's replied to the email yet where I said, hey, we're not doing any sort of page numbers or anything. So I don't think like I'm not requiring it. If Dr. Panels, if Alan, Dr. Panel, sorry, we call each other by the non-doctor names. It's so confusing. Someone in the group had said that in the past, Alan has taken up points for page numbers and headers, but I think actually at one point we required it, and now we don't. Yeah, we've definitely over the years changed how we've done things, because like we're always trying to update, and yeah, we don't have it on the instructions. So if it's not on the instructions, we can't take off points. Like the instructions need to say you need page numbers, you need headers, and I think we have included that. But since it's not on the instructions, I think that'd be really not fair to take it off. For the executive summary, sentence 1 could be Knox bike sharing is looking at different impacts on bike sharing. I would try to say to, these variables were analyzed to see how they impact total demand. So Elizabeth, does that make sense, Elizabeth? I would add on there with the following variables to see how they impact total demand. And then I think that'd be a strong first sentence. So that's an excellent, strong first sentence. I'd maybe include some variables, like some of the key variables analyzed were these variables to look at their impact on total demand. That's super strong opening right there. Great job, Elizabeth. So yeah. And just think about, you're just trying to tell people, hey, this is this company, this is what they're interested in, and these are the variables that we're going to look at throughout this report. Boom, here's some analysis here, analysis, and then here's the decision we're going to make related to the analysis you've seen. Is this kind of making sense how to do the executive summary now? It's like, here's what the report is about, here's what the report found, here's what we're going to do because of the findings. And that's the point of an executive summary. It's like, hey, I say this all the time. The point of the executive summary, which just blows people's minds, is we're not going to read the report. Which are like, well, then what's the point of the report? The report has all the details and all the backing for what you put in the executive summary, but the executive summary is what the executives read, so they don't have to read your report. Hence the executive summary. Which people are like, wait, someone's not going to read my report. It's like, yeah, they're probably read the executive summary. But that's the business world for you. The business world is, I don't have time to read your 20-page report. Can you summarize it for me on 1 page? So, and then if someone wants to go and like check it and make sure and look at all the backing to make sure it's there, like if they like go into further detail. So you'd be like, but why don't we just do executive summaries then? I guess an argument could be made for that everything should be turned in as an executive summary. But the business world is very like, give me the information. Let's be like to the point. Yeah. For section 3, can you go over how the conference roll, how to first go over the first conference roll? I don't know whether I should do the conference roll for the yes or the no response. Pretty sure it's let's go look at that. Pretty sure I think it's the yes response. Let me double check. Let's go take a look at that. Here we go. And I think we haven't done the Mosaic yet today, so we need to do Mosaic next. After this. Create a bar chart for high casual demand, include screenshot, as stated above, explain this condition is met. Use jump to calculate a 99% confidence interval for the population portion of days with high casual demand. So the variable is high casual demand, and the responses to it are yes and no. So if we go to high casual demand right here, the responses are yes and no. So we're interested in the interval for yes. Does that make sense, Madison? So this is, was there high casual demand? So I guess it's a little bit confusing because the variable is high casual demand, and we're interested in, was there high casual demand? So we would then be analyzing the yes group for this to say the proportion of days with high casual demand. So we would be, yeah, Madison, thank you so much. And this is why I wanted to do this project stream today, to help out for especially questions like that, for like clarification, to be like, the variable name is high casual demand. So what am I analyzing? And then we should have made it a little more clear, I think. And that's little things we don't think about sometimes because we read like, oh, no. And then it's like, oh, yeah, the variable name. We're going to do Mosaic, right? Let's talk about Mosaic. Yeah, let's throw some 50 points. I like giving away points. Ubot likes giving away points. Whoa. I had that set up for April Fools. I had a Rickroll ready to go. I was going to Rickroll everyone in the chat, and I forgot I changed Mubot to a Rickroll. So you probably just heard the Rickroll, and I do not know how quick YouTube is at copyright ID. That's the first time you'll ever hear a Rickroll on this channel, and I'm actually going to delete it, so I never hit the Rickroll button again. It's gone now. You get to hear 2 seconds of Rickroll. I just Rickrolled myself. I was going to do it on April Fools. I was going to Rickroll everyone in the class, and I was like, yeah, I was going to like, let's go check out. Actually, okay, really quick. Oh, wait, wrong button. I had this really great idea for April Fools. And people came up with some other really good ideas. Like, there was one we came up with yesterday. You can try and play the Beatles. Oh, yeah, I'll get copyright ID'd instantly on that. I think I stopped that quick enough that I'm going to not get copyright ID'd. We'll find out. If this video is monetized, it's not because of me, not joking. If this video gets monetized, which I won't monetize this video, unless YouTube does it because I hit Rickroll by accident. Oh, yeah, I'll get so my big idea, Andrew, check this out. Brian's big idea, and we'll do Mosaic plots. What I wanted to do is I wanted to put out a video that was called test 3 answer key for TA use only. So I was going to put out a video called test 3 answer key for TA use only, and then I was just going to put the Rickroll, and I was going to take a screenshot that was like test 3 exam, and I was going to have that be like the screenshot, like test 3 exam, and I was going to put that as the screenshot for the video. And then I was going to make the video 20 minutes long, but the first like 5 seconds would be a Rickroll, and then the rest would just be blank video. So like it would just, the video would be 20 minutes and 30 seconds. So you'd be like, oh, it's a 20-minute, 30-second video. And so, yeah, for TA use only. And so I was going to put that out like as a video on April Fools, like a 20-minute, 30-second video with the picture of it right there. And then the first 5 seconds are a Rickroll. And I was like, I should do that. And I was like, what if it like went around UT, like, Brian, post a video of the test 3 answer key. And then I get like, my department is like, Brian, why'd you do that? I'm like, it was an April Fool's joke. Yeah, so that was my idea this year. And I was like, I can't do that. Maybe I'll do it next year. Like, I would have to like warn my department and be like, I'll like get approval from my department head and be like, hey, look, I'm gonna do this joke. I'm pretty sure that would have. I know, Leslie. I was like, and also the whole the Rickroll thing, like, I'm afraid I'll get copyright ID'd. I found some non-copyright ID Rickroll music. I know, Jada. I thought about that a lot, and I was so close to making that video. I was so close to putting that out. Like, you put the image on there so it looks like it's real, because you're like, oh, that's a screenshot from the video. Of course that's the video. And then yeah. And so and I could have made it even better if I didn't do the Rickroll video, which, yeah, I probably shouldn't do. I should have just put that screenshot And yeah, anyways, let's do some mosaic plots. Let's do this right here. Wow, what's going on? Okay, we'll see if this video gets copyright ID'd. We'll find out. Wrong button. For my section for histogram is unimodal neurosymmetric, so the nearly no for is met. I'd say, yep, pretty good. I've been rickrolled by a small town Walmart at 10 p.m. Oh, wait, did they play Rickroll on the music? Oh, man. I remember, I was around. Do you remember the firecrackers that had strings on both sides and all they did was pop? Oh, yeah, I know those. Yeah, I know those. I was around when Rickroll started, and like every video was a Rickroll. Anything anyone sent you was a Rickroll. Like when Rickroll began, it was so popular, just Rickroll people. You didn't, someone's like, hey, you want to see this video? Like, no, you're going to Rickroll me. And they're like, no, seriously, come on, man. It's real video. And you're like, no, you're just going to Rickroll me. And they're like, no, seriously. Like, okay, I'll trust you. And then Rickroll. Let's do mosaic plots. You ready? I'll put a cut in the video. It's time for mosaic plots, future Brian. Let's do this. Okay, mosaic plots. Mosaic plots are when we have two categorical variables. So when we have two categorical variables, we go here to analyze. It's when someone sends you the video of Rick Ashton singing, never gonna give you up, never gonna something. And they say it's like an actual video that's not the video. So it's called Rickrolling. So when you send someone the video and you're like, hey, check out this cool video. And then it like, it's classic. I'm old. So let's see if there's a relationship between people being in Greek life, which is a categorical X variable right here. So, wait. Are you not on the Discord? I thought you were. Email me about that, Andrew. So we don't put it in the chat because anyone could join then. So email me, Andrew, and I'll send it to you, which I thought you were on it. Let's see if Greek life is associated with somebody having student loans. Or no, family economic level. This will be more obvious. So we're seeing if Greek life is associated with family economic level. This is not the one you're doing right here. We're going to go right here to this red arrow, and we're going to remove total percentage, and we're going to remove column percentage. So here we are with the following. And also, I'm going to do what I like to do. I'm going to go right here to the top. I'm going to click this little thing right here. You don't need to do this. I like doing it. I think it makes it look better. You click this one time, you let go, and then you click and drag till you see the blue bar right there. Very important. You go to the blue bar right there. Wait. Oh, good deal. Hannah's dropping the Rickroll video right there. I don't know if Hannah just Rickrolled everyone or has a video explaining who Rick Ashton is. So I like doing it this way right here. Yeah, it probably is, Elizabeth. Probably is. It can be a little bit weird. Like the graphic and everything spacing wise can be a little interesting. I'm going to do this right here. It's a rather large picture, but that's okay. That is okay. When you hear that beat right there, that synth bass drop, you're like, I'm getting rickrolled. Oh, man. Watch that company be so on like their copyright ID claims. I've been copyright ID'd by like ESPN, by Viacom. Gotta be careful with shooting video. They'll grab it if you put like 10 seconds of their video. So when we look at this right here, I just want you to look at this for a moment. And I want you to explain what you see about people who are in Greek life right here. Just look at this, and look at this, and look at Greek life, then look at this, and look at this. It doesn't mean if you're this, you'll be in Greek life. It doesn't mean if you're, we see some stronger relationships there, but what do you notice about people in Greek life? Which doesn't mean it's true for everybody, because you've got people in Greek life from all different walks of life here. And there are people in Greek life from people who identify as coming from lower income. So let's highlight where these numbers are coming from. So if you notice right here, this 2, which we can't, it's so barely, you can't even see it, it's down there. And this right here, this 44, would be represented right here. And this number right here is represented right here. Did I miss one? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I missed. I skipped the green. This is this right here. The red you can't really see. That is that right here. That is that right here. Is this making sense to everybody what you're seeing? Like, if you had to describe this number, How would you describe that number I'm highlighting right there? How would you describe that number I'm highlighting right there? Crab Rave. Oh, we got hit by Crab Rave. You're right. Crab Rave copyright ID does. What's up, Sarah? Good to see you here. Can't play Crab Rave for too long. Got copyright ID, I think it was last summer by Crab Rave for playing it for too long. So what does that number right there represent? What does that number right there represent? What does that number right there represent? What is that number right there? Have multiple bike sharing places around the country. Just one. You could say that, Bailey. We're fine. The greater should be nice. Like you could say like we could expand, or you could say it has multiple places. You could say like analyzing, by region. Seeing if there's different variation due to the region we're doing bike sharing in. How many said yes? So that is this is of the people who are in Greek life, because we're looking at the row percentage right here. Of the people who are in Greek life, so of the people who are in Greek life, so when you narrow this down right here, of the people who are in Greek life, this is the percent of them that identify as what? Of the people, and middle slash upper. Of the people who are in Greek life, this is the percent of them who identify as middle slash upper. But compare that to this right here. This is of the people, we'll kind of cross in on it this way. This is, and these are the people who are not in Greek life. And what do you notice right here? This is, if we compare the numbers, this is going to be 35% to 53%, which is what we're looking at right here. So these differences you're noticing are kind of large, that when it comes to the people who are in Greek life, a greater majority of them come from or identify as middle slash upper. You can also see differences along other, like there's way more people in Greek life right there, that 9.56, who identify as upper class versus the non-Greek life identifying as upper class. So overall, we generally do see a trend in this data where people in Greek life are more likely to identify as upper class. Now I want to show you a trick right here. A huge trick, and this is a big trick for the final. This goes beyond the project. Let's show a trick here for the final. And this is our last way of writing the null and alternative. When you write the null and alternative for this, you only have to do one thing. To write the null and alternative for this, all we're going to do right here, all we are going to do to write the null and alternative, so take a huge note on this, is we are just going to write the word independent. So the null states, this is the only one that breaks the trend for the null and alternative. And if you learn this right now, I'm going to do a test of it in a second to see if you know it. We're going to write here, Greek life is independent of family income. And the alternative right here is going to be, you don't have to do this for your project. So not on the project. Let me put that here in a second. The alternative is going to be, is not independent. Let me put right here, not part of project. This is not part of the project. So the null is that Greek life is independent of family income. The alternative is that Greek life is not independent, meaning like there is an association. So Mandy and everyone else, I want to ask you this question. What would the null hypothesis be for the following? This is not on your project, but if we wanted to know with high casual, let's say high casual demand, I'll make it way easier. I'll use one that's easier. Let's go here to gender explaining if someone has broken a bone. So what is the only word you're going to put between these, and what is the null hypothesis for this test right now? So whenever you see this graphic, if you see this graphic, what is the only word you're going to put between it? So the only thing you're going to put right here, between these two words right here. Andrew knows what's up right there. What is the only word you're going to put between them? And then you've written the null hypothesis. And this is the chi-squared test of independence. So when it comes to interpreting the null right here, which we will be doing the last chapter of the class is about this right here. And when we write the null, we just put one word between that. We just look at it and say, oh, just put a word between them. Just look at that and you go, oh, it's the chi-squared test of independence. So what would the null hypothesis be right here? What would the null hypothesis be? I'm almost out of coffee. What would the null hypothesis be? No one knows. Ah! The null hypothesis would be that gender is independent of breaking a bone. The alternative would be that gender is not independent of breaking a bone. And if we look at the results down here, we can reject the null. We have evidence that gender is not independent of breaking a bone. It looks like males were more likely to break a bone than females were. Like if you look at the row percentages right here. That's got it. What other questions are there? What other questions are there right now? I think we've done most of the project. I think we've done all the parts. We took random samples. We'll head over here to space. We'll put on a little music. The background's working again. What? We only had one lag burst. We'll take one lag burst. We're going to replace all the Ethernet cables this weekend, I hope. Highly recommend buying a Nespresso. Coffee a little more expensive, like $1 a pod, but worth it. Ooh, I have a friend who's a Nespresso person. My friend David, he loves Nespresso. He was telling me that years ago to go to Nespresso. So maybe I should do that, Andrew. Nespresso, it looks good. It looks really yummy. Let's try some Nespresso. Can you explain the high casual demand by weather means? I'm struggling to grasp that. So whenever we look at it, so when we look at this right here, let's go back to our Mosaic plot. Got a little music. So if we look at this right here, you probably have high casual demand down here, right? Or do you have weather? I think you're doing weather down here as the X. And then you're looking at given it's not raining or given it's raining. You can actually hover over these. And you actually see the frequency given someone is female. This is given someone is female because it's going to do the row percentage right here. Given someone is female, the probability they have not broken a bone is 59.38%. Given someone is female, the probability they have broken a bone is 40.63%. Given someone is male, see I'm in the conditional distribution. You're welcome, Leslie. Given someone is male, the probability they've broken a bone is 44.99%. Given someone is male, the probability they've broken a bone is 55.01%. Looking at this, we see a difference between males and females of probability of breaking a bone of about 14.4%, 14.38. I think it's 14.38 if you subtract these. Might not be a bad idea to subtract those numbers. Let's just subtract them. These two right here. We're just taking the difference between this. So let's go right here. 55.01 minus 40.63 and 14.38. That's the difference right here between these, where males have a 14.38% higher chance than females to break a bone. So it looks like to me there's some sort of association right here with males being slightly more likely to break bones than females. Does that make sense, Mandy, how I've analyzed this right here? This right here is the X variable, which we're seeing if someone's gender right here explains, because this is the X variable, whether or not someone's broken a bone. So hopefully does that make sense? Because I don't want to do the exact one. But understanding right here, we can look at these percentages. This percent right here, this 59.38 is for females going across the row, which will be up here. This is this number. Look at how when I hover here, it'll show me 59.38. I think I broke my wrist. I think that's all I've broken. Maybe I broke my arm. But I'm struggling with the high casual demands. Means high casual demand just means if there's like generally like high demand, you can just call it high casual demand. Like, so was there high casual demand, and the probability of that is higher on these days versus lower. In the executive summary and future research, do we have to mention every graph, or we just copy paste this? Don't copy paste the same thing. And if so, can we just copy paste the same thing we say for the executive summary to the future research? Future research. Future research needs to be its own thing, where future research should focus on what? Future research should focus on, like, here's the numeric bracket portion. Future research should focus on future research. So future research is going to be its own unique thing. So when we do this right here, I like chill music. Same one I played? No, different one. Future research needs to be things that go beyond the report. So You want to go into new ideas beyond the report. So this is like... So you're, like if you recap, it should be small. What is the goal of future research? So what is the goal? Like that's why I say to everyone, what is the goal of future research? Future research, the goal of it, and the main important part should be what? The goal of future research. And it busted my chin. Oh no, sorry to hear that, Andrew. So the goal of future research is to talk about... The goal of future research is to talk about future research. So the main focus in the future research should be things that go beyond the report because it's future research. Unfortunately, sometimes I see kind of the reverse of this where people have the majority of it being a review of findings, and then we don't see. Can we go look at our project one for reference? Yep. And the graders should be consistent. It should be the same grader. So if they liked it, then you should be good. This is an estimate right here for the executive summary. I'm not saying you'll, and we talked about like, if your summary of the business problem is something like, I am analyzing bike data, that's not going to be a good summary of the business problem. So you need to make sure you give, this is like a strong sentence right here. And then numeric backing is so important here. And then your suggestion needs to, like, if you give a sentence like, we need to increase bike demand, that doesn't relate to like the report. I mean, it's the goal of the report, but it needs to give like a strong like sentence. Does that make sense, Bailey? Good questions, Bailey. Like, think about, with the person reading your report, each sentence needs to kind of be impactful because you're taking a whole report and going and crushing it down into this executive summary right here and being like, and we talked about the length of it. If you're looking at it from like 50, not that far away. I'm gonna destroy that. Like, generally speaking, I would say on your page, if you got an executive summary right here, my handwriting gets worse every day. Future research should maybe look like that. About a half page. Should be pretty good. It just, if you're looking at them space-wise, it should look about this. As long as you can send it to me, Bailey. I can take a look at it. Just make sure, one, make sure it has the numeric backings. Make sure your suggestion is clear. Make sure you outline the business problem. Don't try to just copy-paste your sentences here. Does yours look about like this? I mean, this could maybe look a little smaller. There's going to be variation in what people do. That's probably about right for when I look at them. If I'm looking at just how much you have. But if someone writes sentences that have no numeric backing here, don't outline the business problem, and they don't give clear suggestions, then it doesn't matter what the length is. Yeah, and so it all depends. Yeah, so it really depends. Like, this is just a, like, you could write sentences here that just don't look good, don't really go through. If your future research is like, here's all my findings, da 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 da, and then you have one sentence at the end of future research that says like, you know, we shouldn't, you know, in the future we should do this, I'd be like, ew, that really didn't examine future research. Do you have a class after this? I interview, you want to interview me? Sure. Well, yeah, and I think we're about finishing up right here. I might respond to some stuff right here. Let's head back to space. Put on a little music. We'll head over to You're welcome, Jada. Awesome. And I'll probably be reviewing a lot of projects tonight. Woohoo! Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to hop off right here, and I will see everybody later. Bye for now, everyone. Bye!